Good evening, Belize, and welcome to XTV's news broadcast for Tuesday, February 4th, 2025. Making the headlines tonight, firefighters sick out. Mechanics respond to fire in Belize City. Car dealers temporarily block northern border over proposed additional fee. And fire destroyed wooden house in Belize City, displacing family of 5. We take our first break and return with the news in detail.
February Parts Service.
Welcome back with your news. I am Drea Espinosa. In the wake of firefighters in Belize City last Friday going on a go slow today, they upped the ante and staged a sick out at the city's 2 fire stations. That is the makeshift headquarters at the Marion Jones Sporting Complex and the station on the south side. As a result, it was mechanics who responded to a fire that broke out in Belize City. We'll get to that, but first, the discontent of the firefighters became public last week when they revealed that their overtime hours had been slashed. They also complained of their subpar working conditions due to the lack of a proper fire station at the Marion Jones Sporting Complex. They said they have insufficient sleeping quarters with aged bedding and that the area is infested with pests. They also complained that they lack proper protective gear and that trucks are in a less than desirable condition. Notably, the industrial action comes despite a meeting on Monday when 13 firefighters from the various fire stations across the country sat with the CEOs of the Ministries of Disaster Risk, Management and Public Service, as well as with the Public Service Union President, Dean Flowers, Disaster Risk Management CEO, Kennedy Carrillo, told the media after the meeting that it was successful.
Obviously, some of the concerns that they have had in terms of adjustments that needed to be made with their overtime led them to come to quite a productive discussion with us that not only addressed this, but some of the other concerns that we are very well aware of and responding to. First of all, in regards to the overtime that had to be adjusted. As everyone knows, we are quickly coming to the end of the fiscal year. And unfortunately, historically, the fire department has always been one of those departments that is sometimes under-budgeted because, as you know, fires are very unpredictable. So you may be able to estimate a certain budget, and then you end up with a lot more fires. And obviously, the overtime would then be adding up. And so throughout the year, the ministry has ensured that the firefighters have been receiving their overtime. As a matter of fact, we know that there are instances where some firefighters receive more overtime than the actual salary. And so with the end of the year, fiscal year coming very close, we had to make some adjustments to make sure that we could make it to the end of the fiscal year. I want to say that sometimes maybe the message was not carried in the best way, and this created some discontent among the firefighters. And so some of them took to the media, which is their right. And like I told them this morning, it also helped us to really understand how important this is to them.
Carrillo also said that since Friday, they reached out to the Ministry of Finance and discussed the issue with Prime Minister Honorable John Briceño, and that they were reviewing if they could procure funds to meet the gaps. She said all was explained to the firefighters, and they seemed to be pleased following the meeting.
As is throughout the public service, not only for the fire department, concerns in terms of allowances, concerns as it relates to promotions, to transfers, to increments. And so we took the opportunity to update them on what the ministry has done, especially since Minister Perez took over as Minister of Disaster Risk Management with responsibility for the fire department. We have been able to bring on board quite a number of administrative staff, finance officer, administrative officer, to address some of those concerns. In addition, of course, to looking at promotions and restructuring of the organization. And so they were very satisfied, first of all, that we welcomed them to the discussion. We did not run and hide. We were able to sit with them, listen to their concerns, give them the assurance of what we're working on. And I think that all in all, it was a very productive meeting, and everyone left very positive and hopeful of positive outcomes.
Firefighters have additionally complained that they are now required to do even more work since EMT service was added to their responsibilities. This is the first time we are hearing of firefighters complaining about their overtime hours being cut during this time of the year. Fire Chief Colin Gillett provided further explanation, stating that because a new recruit of 80 firefighters has been approved, firefighters must start getting used to the fact that when the new officers come on board, they will no longer be receiving as much as they do now in overtime. Minister Andre Perez is responsible for disaster risk management, and in response to the issue raised by the firefighters, he said they must learn to live with their salary alone, rather than depending on exorbitant overtime. Well, today, Dean Flowers, the president of the Public Service Union, PSU, had some very strong words for Perez. He also told us that firefighters from Dangriga wrote a letter to the minister to express their discontent with his remarks.
He pointed out that the minister, Andre Perez, was very insensitive in his remarks yesterday. And in affording him some slack, it is my understanding that he may have spoken prior to the conclusion of the meeting. Now, I am saying if he does not have all the facts, and if he has not been briefed by his CEO, then why will he behave like Donald Trump? Why would he behave like Donald Trump and speak from out of his rear? And that really rubbed the firefighters them really wrong. It really rubbed them wrong. They fired off another letter today from the Dangriga branch, and the other districts express or are expressing their equal dissatisfaction with these comments. This is what you signed up for. It is now your responsibility to fix it. And we expect that you will fix it, because the guys have had enough. They're really frustrated, and I want to caution the minister from making these insensitive comments in the future about trying to tell grown men and women how to spend their money. That is none of your business, sir. That is absolutely none of your business. Nobody is checking and telling you how to spend your base salary or your thousands of dollars in allowances. So for goddamn sake, stop it.
Flowers also responded to the comments of the fire chief about firefighters now needing to get used to smaller allowances because more firefighters are coming on board.
The cutting of overtime may have exposed and brought us here. It is not overtime that the officers are fighting for. The overtime was keeping the officers at bay, were keeping them at ease, despite the injustices of the denial of several benefits that is due to them, that are to have been paid to them. Did you see the chief fighting for these officers to be paid $300 like every other public officer? Now he comes with repeating the nonsense that the minister uttered last night about the officers needed to get that the officers need to get used to making less overtime. As far as I'm concerned, the chief and the minister and the government of Belize can keep all the overtime that they wish to keep by simply paying the officers what is due to them. Please have the chief and the minister get that through their skull. It's not about overtime, and you will not pretend to care by restoring overtime, including illegally paid overtime. And when I say illegally paid overtime, I dare challenge an audit. And as a matter of fact, we're calling for an audit. And look at those overtime sheets that is signed by certain officers in the higher ups in that department. They're illegal. They do not work those hours that they're claiming. And all of these things are now coming to light. And we will not stop. The union will not withdraw its support for our firefighters until such time that an audit is done on overtime payments that has been made to certain officers, especially in the hierarchy, until an audit is done on the inventory of that department to account for those boots that are missing, for those shirts that are missing, until an audit is done to account for the monies that has been allocated, which we understand has been mismanaged and misappropriated in that department. The audit department needs to get in there. We have asked your career to call for one. We're demanding one. We expect that she will support such a call to expose corruption and to get rid of those officers who have abused of their authority and continue to abuse and intimidate and bully the officers within the fire department.
Flowers responded to the point of view that firefighters do not respond to fires or emergencies every single day.
Allowances are tied to a post and they're paid monthly. Let me start from the top. We would have raised hell and exposed abuse by cabinet members who receive an entertainment allowance in excess of $1,000. I believe they will receive an entertainment allowance of $1,500. Who do they entertain every single day? Then they get a monthly constituency fund. Some of them get to the tune of $20,000. Who accounts for that $20,000 that some ministers get? You have your CEOs. I believe they get 1,000. Who do they entertain every day? You have your HODs who get 750. Who do they entertain every day? There's telephone allowance. Who do they call on their personal phone on their own personal expense? Absolutely no one. So it is unfair to say that fire service firefighters are not deserving of $200 because they don't respond to a fire every day. The fact remains that responding to one single fire per month exposes them to certain risk. And the government is in violation of the Fire Act, the law, which should provide insurance coverage for them. So that little $200 is merely to allow them to pay for whatever harm could possibly come to them. So I wouldn't advise the government or anybody to make such a proposition or to establish such a position, because it won't hold, because that is not how allowances work. All right. Once you do the job, you're exposed, and you can be exposed once in your lifetime, and that's it. So if a firefighter goes out there and gets electrocuted, as has occurred, or gets burned and damaged, that's basically what they get, $200.
When a house fire broke out in Belize City close to 11 this morning, it was the fire service mechanics who had to respond to the fire, which occurred off Niels Pen Road Extension. No one was at home at the time and the house was completely destroyed. The owner, Yvette Bernardes, shared that she and her 4 children have been displaced. The cause of the fire is being investigated, but Bernardes told us that the fire appears to have started from the back of the house where there was no electrical connection.
But he said the fire came from behind the house.
Where there's no wiring.
Where there is no wiring, yes ma'am.
Which is kind of indicating it may have been arson.
Yeah, but I'm not saying that. They have to come back and do a thorough investigation tomorrow.
Now, can you talk to me about how many of you have been impacted and the losses that you've suffered?
Well, we lost a lot. I have 4 children, 17 years old, 18 years old, 13 and 12 years old, myself. And we have so many things in the house. I just bought a TV for my children for them to watch and stuff like that. But I even bought a machine and I haven't even used it yet. But we have, yes ma'am, I paid $500 for it, but I have everything. I don't know where to start from, but I don't understand the reason why this has happened. But I think everything happened for a reason. But I always say that where there's a will, there will always be a way. So I just find it hard when they call me. I almost faint. I was at work and I was running from complex building, and a lady said, "Come in, let me take you." And this was what I meet. Everything just went to the ground. Well, totally, I think it was nearly like, I'd say like more than 20,000, but That's just the best I could do right now because sofa, fridge, microwave, everything is in there. 2 TV. I had everything in my house.
It was a wooden structure.
It was wooden and zinc. It was 24 by 18, I think.
Okay. And how long had you been living here?
I'm back here for 3 years.
Speaking about the impact of the sick out on the response to the fire, Gladstone Buckner, the station officer responsible for the entire Belize district, said the firefighters have 16 days of sick leave annually. So that is the right of the firefighters to use their sick days.
The firefighters, they might not feeling well, they call in sick. By law, we have 16 days within the year, so they just utilizing their rights, calling in sick.
How many called in sick for both stations?
It will be approximately a few officers. Let me leave it as that.
I heard 8. Is that a correct figure?
A few officers. I'll leave it as that.
Well, then can you tell me how many officers there are in Belize City?
We have enough officers in Belize City.
But so then today we're told it's the mechanics who had to respond to this fire. Is that correct?
From time to time, we use mechanics. Mechanics come out and assist us, especially when you have troubles with maybe the engine on the ground. We do utilize mechanics from time to time.
Okay, but if it is that this sick out continues, how do you expect it's going to impact the fire service? Like, how long can they sick out? I know you say 16, but...
The thing is, each individual is responsible for their own action. And like I said, that's their right. We can't say they are not sick. We're not doctors. So they have the right to call in sick.
Buckner added that the mechanics are well versed with the trucks and they know how to operate them. If you wish to help the family rebuild, you can call Bernardes at 607-5500. Her bank account number is 112-12913 at Heritage Bank. After the break, car dealers explain why they protested at the border. Stay with us.
The streetlight implementation plan is to replace the high
There was a commotion at the northern border today after car dealers questioned a proposed change in valuation procedures based on a leaked memo from the Customs and Excise Department dated January 6, 2025. The car dealers say the proposed change would mean higher fees when importing used cars into the country. The situation escalated when, in an attempt to seek answers, they were escorted off the compound by a senior department official. The men then temporarily blocked access to the Santa Elena border in response. The leaked memo from the department details a proposed change to the valuation procedures of cars being imported into the country. According to the memo, the transaction value method shall be the primary basis for the valuation of imported goods into the country, which also includes motor vehicles. The car dealers at the border said this will result in higher fees. Registered car dealer Albert Leslie explained why the proposed change would be more expensive for them. He said they feel the government is being pressured by international automotive manufacturers. Leslie also said that the car dealers will meet this week and organize a protest as well as try to meet with the Prime Minister.
They're charging us a different type of duty. They used to do a residual duty on the vehicles that we bring in. No, they don't want to do any residual duty. They just want to value it direct off the bill of sale. And the vehicles that used to pay like $3,000–4,000 in duty now will pay $8,000 in duty. But I don't know why they're bringing pressure on the poor people like that, because the poor people is the one who's going to suffer. Because now you can't sell poor people cars, because people only have a certain amount of money to buy a car. Okay? So when I came into the country yesterday, I get the news that the government, they will do direct with bill of sale, no residual duty. So that's what some of us are concerned about. But I don't know what's the problem with some car dealers, because like they're afraid for victimization. You understand? They're afraid that the government victimize them because of their rights. And I don't think that is right. So today they put us out the compound because they said they thought we was going to do a ruction in there, but we are not going to do any ruction in the compound. All I was telling the dealers them, so that we don't pay any duty today, so that the government understand that we need help. We can't afford to pay the duty that they're charging us.
What are some of the other dealers saying? Are they also singing from that same hymn like you? Or?
Well, everybody is singing, right? But the problem is the victimization. That's what they're afraid of. You understand?
How would you like this to be solved?
Well, I would like them to put it back the same way it was before.
Interestingly, after contacting a few car dealerships in Belize City, we were told that they were unaware of the proposed changes themselves and were in the process of learning more about it and how it would affect them. We have also reached out to a senior Customs and Excise Department officer for clarification, but as of news time, they have not responded to our query. As was reported earlier, one of the complaints of the Belize City firefighters is their lack of a proper fire station. The city has been without a proper fire station headquarters since the property at the original location on Cleghorn Street was sold by the previous administration to Atlantic Bank Limited for $2.8 million in March of 2020. Months later, the fire station was temporarily moved to the Marion Jones Sporting Complex, and years later, they have not been relocated. On Monday, CEO Kennedy Carrillo of the Ministry of Disaster Risk Management said that they will build a new station on already identified land near Chedamal Street and that this is a priority. However, a timeline still can't be given.
Well, we know that the land has been identified, and we need to now look at mobilizing the resources together with the Ministry of Finance. We are looking at different opportunities that exist for us to be able to put a state-of-the-art fire station for the district, for the city as well. And we're looking at Chatham Street where we have the land. And so it's definitely one of our priorities to remove the guys from where they presently are at the Marion Jones, which we know is not the best location. It was never the best location. It was supposed to be just an interim arrangement, and it is our responsibility to ensure that we work very quickly to get them out of that space.
No timeline?
I can't tell you a timeline as yet, but definitely it is a priority.
In recent years, criminal activity has been on the rise in Cotton Tree, Cayo, including the latest murder of Seferino Pop on Friday night. Police have been monitoring the crime situation in the village, and on Monday, ACP Gilberto Romero shared what police are doing in the short term to lessen criminal activity in that community.
Yes, there were several murders in Cotton Tree last year.
What is it that causes this in Cotton Tree?
We have different, one is drug activity and other rivalries between persons in that area. So there is a team that is in that area to try to prevent these shootings.
After the break, U.S. suspends funding to Haiti MSS. Stay tuned.
Board and the Labor Department. Social Security Board, safeguarding you, your family, your future.
As the new fiscal year is approaching, CEO in the Ministry of Disaster Risk Management, Kennedy Carrillo, said her ministry will request a bigger budget. Other than being able to prevent a situation like what the firefighters are complaining about, Carrillo said that the current budget mostly goes towards salaries and a bigger budget would allow for more projects.
Definitely, we're always proposing larger budgets because we always recognize that the ceilings sometimes, are limited. And so it is up to our ministry to advocate for increases in the case of the firefighters. And not only that, but in the case of disaster risk management in general, when we speak about NEMO, when we speak about the Met Service, when we speak about the Fire Service, we know that these are very important departments that require all the attention as it relates to not only the financial support, but also, of course, the administrative support. And so we've been working on that.
The United States has suspended funding to the UN-backed Haiti Multinational Security Support Mission, MSS. The U.S. was the single largest funder of the mission. According to international media, it means $13.3 million in pending aid could be impacted. The notice of a freeze was communicated to the United Nations. The MSS got approval in October 2023, and several countries, including Belize, had committed to send troops to support the mission. Last year, it sent 2 senior Belize Defense Force soldiers to provide technical support to the mission. A platoon was to be sent in January, but because requirements stipulated by the Belize government were not met by the organizers, these soldiers have not yet been deployed. And U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has been visiting certain countries in Central America. From February 1st to 6th, Rubio is to visit Panama, El Salvador, Costa Rica, Guatemala, and the Dominican Republic to advance U.S. President Donald Trump's America First foreign policy. On Monday, Rubio met with El Salvador President Nayib Bukele for several hours. Rubio said that Bukele, quote, has agreed to the most unprecedented, extraordinary migratory agreement anywhere in the world, end quote. It involves sending deportees to be jailed in El Salvador and also dangerous criminals currently in custody and serving their sentences in the United States, even though they're U.S. citizens or legal residents. It is reported that Rubio wanted to press El Salvador to do more to meet U.S. President Donald Trump's demands for a major crackdown on immigration. Bukele confirmed the offer in a post on X, formerly Twitter, saying El Salvador has offered the United States of America the opportunity to outsource part of its prison system. He said his country would accept only convicted criminals and would charge a fee that would be relatively low for the U.S., but significant for El Salvador, making the entire prison system sustainable. After Rubio spoke, a U.S. official said Trump's Republican administration had no current plans to try to deport American citizens, but called Bukele's offer significant. The U.S. government cannot deport American citizens, and such a move would be met with significant legal challenges. And with that, we have come to the end of our newscast. The repeat can be viewed on the station later tonight at 9 and again tomorrow at midday. Join us again tomorrow for another news broadcast. I am Drea Espinosa. Have a safe and enjoyable evening.